Yo, so today I'm going to be breaking down this dark melody I made. So just to start off with, I feel like with these kind of melodies, you want a lot of layers, but you want the patterns to be simple and really focus on like blending everything together with effects. So to start off with, I started with this piano melody, and what I did to get started was go up to here to snap to grid and clicked 1/3 beat. So I wrote everything out in thirds. And here's the base of it, and it's just this super repetitive pattern, and that just goes on throughout the melody. And then here it's the exact same pattern. I just pitched it down 5, which keeps it in the same scale but also gives it a lot like more of a darker tone. But then I took this part and this part when they were pitched down 5, and then I put them up an octave. So I'll copy over just like the base of the pattern and play that. So as you can hear, it's super duper simple and a bit repetitive. And by the way, this is the wing upright in Keyscape. And then next, I just copied down the bass notes. Pretty simple. And then I made this top line and also copy that over, just play by itself. And it just repeats every 2 bars, and it's really simple. Yeah, so that's the top line of it. And that it just adds a little bit more bounce, a little bit more rhythm, and also gives it some of that high end. And you'll notice that usually I make my melodies like down an octave, so the whole melody would be like down here. But with the wing upright in particular, I like to pitch it up an octave, make the velocities crazy like I did by going Alt R and then going in and altering some of them by hand too. And then it's still really high pitched, so then I rendered it out right here, and then I put it down an octave, and then I also kept one that was at the normal pitch. So after it's all rendered out and one of them's pitched down and one of them's the normal pitch and they're mixed together, this is what it sounds like. So you can see what I'm saying about like it just sounds a little bit different if you push it down an octave with like when it's an audio clip rather than just doing like control down arrow and pitching it down an octave while it's actually in the pattern. And that's something I've been doing a lot for emotional piano melodies and then these dark melodies that I've been making recently. The next sound I added is the felt mallet from Omnisphere. I think it's a kalimba, but it's my favorite kalimba in there. And it's the same pattern and it sounds like this. So it really fills in that high end and kind of gives it a twinkly feeling almost, because we lost that high end when I pitched down that piano, but it does a really good job blending with that piano. Next, I went into Serum and got a string, and this just does the root note on 3 different octaves, so C4, C5, C6, and then here G sharp, and it's really simple, just hits on every chord change, sounds really nice. And the sound in Serum is this strings called Sauce Real Hard from the new Sunboy Bank. It's very good, I highly recommend it, but it sounds really nice, and this is what it sounds like. And then that just repeats over once more. Next, I added this church bell. It's called the Cathedral Bellscape in Omnisphere. And I really like to layer church bells with those strings so they kind of hit at the same time. And then there's this one that's up a little bit that does not hit at the same time. But overall, I really like the way this sounds. So here's the pattern. So it's just a nice little accent, and it layers that first hit layers with the strings really nicely. Next, I went into Expand, which is by far the best budget plugin you can get, and it's the solo violin preset. And I just have it playing these two notes repeating, and then this gets put down 2 for this one just to add a little bit of variation because it is a really simple melody. And then that just repeats over again. Finally, the last sound I added is this flute from Contact, and it's actually a free part of Contact because I believe if you go to the Native Instruments website, there's like a free starter kit, and that's what I have, where you get the Contact player and then a couple banks. So how you get to this is go into Contact, go to this database section, and then click on flute. And then there's 2 that pop up, and I use the bottom one. I'm not even going to try to say that, but it's a really good flute. And personally, I like it more than like the Lotus flute and Mellotron flute from Omnisphere. So here's what this sounds like. And that again just repeats over another 4 bars. And if you've noticed, everything is kind of 5 bars, but just repeated with sometimes slight variations. So you can see what I was talking about, how like simple patterns, but good mixing and layering and everything. So now get into the mixing. So on the piano that's pitched down, I have the lows cut, and then I have an imager boosted all the way up. Then on the piano that's the same pitch, I have it just kind of filtered out right here, and it almost kind of turns into like a texture, and it doesn't get too high to where the melody doesn't feel dark anymore. Then I put chorus and a reverb on it, and I turned up the decay and the size to just give it a more ambient feeling. So it really does kind of turn into more of a piano texture. On the mallet, I again kind of did the same thing as the piano and isolated it here and cut some of the highs. Added the default delay preset and just turned it down about 3/4 of the way. And then pancake on the default preset on 2 bars. Oh, forgot to mention on the piano, I turned this little knob to merge so it becomes mono. So there's a little bit even more separation from the deep pitch down piano and then the normal piano like texture kind of thing. On the strings, cut the lows and faded out the highs. Added chorus and then an imager boosted all the way up. Then on the church bell, I always do this to church bells. I just keep it isolated here because there's some ringing noise for this particular one, but it's like the only good one in Omnisphere. Then on the violin, you can see here that I actually have it turned down really low on the mixer, but everything else on the mixer has EQ'd out this like 5K and above section. So I boosted this, so this really shines through, even though it's technically playing really quiet, but you can still really hear it because it's the only instrument playing in those frequency ranges. Lastly, the contact flute kind of did opposite what I did to the violin. I took out of that area again and boosted the high-ish mids. Then for the arrangement, I don't know why, but for these type of melodies, I always like to render everything out as an audio clip. And how I do that is I click on the top one over here and then shift click on the bottom, right click and render as audio clip, and it'll render them out all like this. And then I laid it all out, and I really didn't make that major of changes to it, but I copied over the low piano and I made another version unique and reversed it, and I found this chop that I really liked that was kind of a cool transition. I just thought that was a cool little chop, so I added it in there. And I have it play before the drums would drop, and then when the drums would go out, and it would kind of go into, I guess it's called a bridge or something. I need to learn my music terms or whatever. And then everything else just kind of comes in and out of the melody where I saw it fit, I guess. And then I went and added this crinkle accent that I made, and you can make the same kind of accent just by crinkling some bubble wrap and then EQing it and putting a bit of reverb on it. I think I did that. Then I went onto the master channel, added ambience and put an automation clip so it kind of fades in and then fades out, and it's just kind of a cool feeling. I always do this for most of my like darker or piano melodies. I think it sounds really nice. Then finally I did Control A and then recorded it all out. and I ended up pitching it down 3, and it gave it a super dark tone. So compared to this, now it sounds like this. I just thought it sounded a lot better, so I kept it down 3. Bro, what? So apparently my video has not been recording, so this might be a face camless video, but thank you guys for watching anyways. Thought this was a cool melody, and I really don't want to redo it because I think I explained things kinda well, but yeah, hopefully you learned something. But thank you for watching. Yeah, I'll play the final loop right now. Well, maybe with drums on it if I feel like it, but probably not.